welcome to Reel In, and today we have a very special filmmaker with us, and we're going to be in conversation with Nathalia Syam. Have I pronounced that properly?
Yeah, so I say Nathalia Syam, that's fine.
Nathalia.
With the H, I do pronounce it a bit more, but
Okay, Nathalia, sorry. Nathalia Syam.
yeah.
We're going to be talking about lots of different things. I've got quite a lot of questions for you. Largely revolving around footprints on water. But before we get to that, where I want to start off with is kind of take it back to your early years, really. And when did you kind of start to get interested in film? And when did you realize you wanted to become a filmmaker? Is it something that's been with you since childhood?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been exposed to the film industry because my mom's side of the family is quite into the Malayalam film industry. And so I've kind of, been on film sets and I've really found that intriguing. But when we moved to the UK, we started thinking of the traditional routes of going into an educational because I was doing accounts before. Even my sister, who's a writer now, she's a chartered accountant, but now she's a full-time writer. So although I was pursuing accounts, I've always wanted to do film. You know how families say do it in the weekend and do it as a part-time thing. So it started off as that, and I think by the time I was around 18, 19, I was working full-time in accounts as well. And then I thought, no, I'm going to do it full-time. I had a wonderful mentor in Slough. So I'm originally from Slough.
Yeah.
And her name is Dominique Unsworth. She heads Resource Productions. You might know her. So she was one of my mentors. She's been mentoring me since I was 15 or 16. So she just said, go for it, just go at it. So I went to University of Reading to study film, theatre and television. I did parts in film direction as well. And then after that, it's been many years of being a runner, cleaner on set, driver on set, anything you can think of within the film industry.
Yeah.
And around 3 years back, I was working as a first AD, so I'd progressed up to a first AD. And my wonderful producer, Mohan Nader, at the production headquarters, I did a Bollywood film as a first AD for him. And randomly, we were at this dinner, all of us, and I just said to him, "There's a project that my sister's written, and she won a Cinestan script prize for it. We really want to make it." And he's like, "Okay, we'll do it." And then a year later, we made it. So it's just, I'd say it's like a lot of hard work and a lot of fluke as well. But in 9 years, name me any department I've worked as part of that. But I think it was really important because when I became a director, it was really easy for me to communicate with all the departments and really understand the time scale. So that's me in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And it's one of the things because you kind of have this view that, oh, I want to be a director, so people just kind of become directors, but you've like proven that it really is doing everything you can within the industry to kind of get there.
I think the main difference was like in India, for example, people usually become like ADs, assistant directors, and they progress up. And of course, there are very lucky ones who go straight into direction as well. And some people do brilliantly. I think it's, a lot of respect for them. But in the UK, it was more like you need to really start from the scratch. And runner, I did almost 3 years of being a runner. And but running is where I really learned a lot about, and it is a hard job. I have so much respect for runners, and because being a runner myself, so I think it was good that you started at a very grassroots level because you really learn, and especially when you get to a point where you're being a third AD or first AD, you really appreciate the path you've taken as well. So I think it's the UK does it in a good way, I think.
Yeah. Now you said that you spoke with your producer and you made you kind of pitched the film to him. But before that, you have made some short films prior to Footprints, haven't you? So how did those kind of come about? Were they during your kind of stint as when you're doing all the different jobs?
Yeah. So I always knew I wanted to get into direction because I've just had so much calling to be a director. I was always very intrigued by, for example, even, when I read a book or whatever, I get very visual around it. So I used to think that it would be cool to see how it would, come about. So mainly with resource production. So I used to keep pitching various different short films. Majority were rejected, but there was some that went through. So one of the short films produced by Resource Productions, which did quite well in the festival circuit, is called Langa. It's still in YouTube if you type in Langa. It's a 3 minutes. So it was a Channel 4 random acts short film. So it was commissioned by Channel 4. So the way we did it is I applied via Resource Productions, but you go through about 3 rounds of interview with Channel 4 Screen South execs, and then they support you in making it. And that eventually ended up being nominated for a Best of British Iris Prize, which is a BAFTA qualifying festival. And we had a couple of award wins at a festival in LA as well. So that I would say, because after Lehenga, I started applying for a few more fundings around short films. I made one in Kerala with the support of Arts Council England and Screen South and various other places. But Lehenga was like a stepping stone. So to sum it up, it was always during my running time, and because you got to keep going. And also another important thing to highlight is in the UK, if you become a runner and an AD and everything, the career progression is not becoming a director like it is in India. So unless you do these kind of things on the side, it'd be very hard to transition into something else.
Right. Okay. No, that's really interesting you say that, because like you say, a lot of what you see is Bollywood, and so and so's become so and so was an AD. It's almost like it's almost fashionable now to say, oh, I was an AD on this film and that sort of thing. And then they either go and become actors or actresses, or or directors. So it's interesting that you kind of spell it out. It's a lot different here. So moving on to Footprints now. So you said that that was the film, I guess, that you pitched to your producer. So tell us a little bit about the film. So what was it about the story? What was it, what was it about the pitch that made Mohan Nadir sort of agree to produce the film?
Okay, so the film, firstly, it's a very personal story. So I moved to the UK at the time around 10, 11 from Kerala. And when we moved to UK, I kind of, because I was naive and little, I thought, it's going to be like Bollywood films, it's going to be all fancy and it's going to be like huge houses and everything, but to my expectations is a complete opposite of that. Like, we went to Southall, where we were in a shared accommodation to start with, and that kind of really like shocked me. I was like, okay, what's going on? But it was okay, because we do what we do. And my sister was so it was my mom, my dad, and my sister, and we all were quite surprised at the living. And while we lived in Southall, we came to know a lot of family friends. Some of them were illegal immigrants. So from then, especially when we started getting into film, my sister and I were always intrigued. What happens when somebody's living such an invisible life? But what happens when one of them goes missing? So Footprints essentially is about a father searching for his missing daughter, but they're all invisible, and they have no papers, no passports, no nothing. So it's about a father trying to search for his daughter without coming under the police radar, basically. And it's very interesting because through the search between, so Adil Hussain is the father, Nimisha Sajin is the daughter. We've also got very prominent roles played by Antonio Akil as Rehan, and Lena as Adil's wife Sudha. And in the story, it's about the father finding out various different things. So, when people give up everything. So Adil's character is something who sold off everything he has in India for a better family, but the things he's lost amidst that. So it's basically a question on why would you leave something so beautiful? And, I know things are hard, but would you really want to come and live an invisible life? So it just really shows, I haven't really, exaggerated any situations. It's quite true to reality, and, still respecting the illegal immigrant community as well. So it's a very interesting side on the dark side of Birmingham, which people haven't seen yet. So I'm excited to see how people are gonna receive it.
Now, so your inspiration was largely kind of what you saw when you moved over here. No, okay. Did you ever feel yourself when you moved over here, and you said that there wasn't obviously you were young then, but when you moved over here and you said it wasn't what you had seen in, say, Bollywood movies, did you ever think yourself, like, why have we done this? Why have we come over here?
Oh, 100%. I think I used to, think that a lot. I even
Mm,
sometimes, like even a few years ago, I was like, okay, why? But it's like, the long story short is my father is a professor, so he moved
okay.
over. And like what happens to a lot of people, he was promised a job which wasn't quite correct. So then he had
Right.
to take a few steps back and make everything right, which took a year or two. And
Yeah.
during that time is when we had to, like
Sure.
cut costs and everything. And I thought to myself, if my father, who's a professor, who's meant to know a little bit at least, goes through this, then what about the people who come for, like, through student visas and
Mm,
they're stuck here?
mm,
And As we started researching more, like we had a family friend who was getting paid £2 an hour
wow.
in a very, common Indian grocery store. And it was expected because you're illegal immigrant. So then, and also like things with medical care, etc., they were just so shady about it. They would just
Mm,
go to other illegal immigrant doctors, for example, which is very dangerous. Like, anything can happen.
mm,
But as we researched more into footprints in the story, I found out, Neetha found out that there are a lot of support systems and charities in place for illegal immigrants. So if you do need to go to the doctor, they're not going to really question you. You can really go through the help of a support. So some of these things we wanted to highlight through the film as well, because people think we're invisible. If anything happens, we're not important, but that's not the case. You may get deported, but
mm.
if life and death is in question, then you can seek professional help.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting because that's something like I had no idea about, and it's interesting to hear that side of things. You mentioned the dark side of Birmingham. We'll come to that a little bit later. Firstly, now this is your debut feature film, and you've
Yeah,
got quite the cast for this.
thank
You've
you.
got, like you said, Adil Hussain, who doesn't really need any introduction anymore. You've got Nimisha, who really made a name for herself with the Great Indian Kitchen. I think that was a couple of years ago now. Homegrown talent like Antonio. Um, so, tell us a bit about the casting process. I mean, how did you? Firstly, did you have these people in mind? Are these the people that you kind of thought, I want this person in this role? And how easy or hard was it to get your cast together?
So we were just, thinking of various different casts, and we'd been talking to a few people. But Adil Hussain was in the UK for the shoot of Bell Bottom.
Okay.
And one of my friends who also worked in the film suggested to me, okay, Adil is here. So then I reached out to Mohan. I said, Adil is in the country. Should we go see him? And Adil was very simple and easy and stress-free to talk to. So Mohan sent me Adil's number, and then I introduced myself as well as the project. And then I think it was in Milton Keynes. He was at his family friend's place. So my sister and I went to pitch to him, and then he really liked the story. And then before we knew it, I think we pitched to him around May time, and then
Mm,
December we started shooting. So Adil Hussain, I'd say, was very straightforward, and he was just so, even now, like Adil's, become a very good friend. He's a great mentor, and he's just one of like a dream actor or professional to work with. His work ethics are amazing. He's so supportive, and I felt like I could really be myself and, really easily communicate everything I wanted because he was so transparent and easy to communicate with. So I'm very grateful for that. Nimish Sajian, as funny as it sounds, I just pinged her a message on Instagram and I said, I want to talk to you. I've got a project. And then she, like, she's got thousands of followers. She replied back. I gave her a call and then she was in. So it was as simple as that. Antonio Akil, the same friend who suggested Adil's in the UK, introduced me to Antonio, and through that, Antonio again just had a WhatsApp chat, and we went about it. And Lena, who's also in Kerala, she's a female superstar. She does a lot of things. Her, I got the number through one of her agents and reached out. And I think because the story, so I'd say the story was such a important factor for all these actors coming together. It being a true, not true story, sorry, it's inspired by true events, but it being shot in the backdrop of reality was something that they really liked. And also, you know, there's been a number of films made in the UK from India, which kind of glamorizes the UK. And it was a different film that shows UK as it is, and it can be dark. So I think that's probably what. But the casting process was, you know, Mohan was very helpful in getting everyone together, and the production company, as well as the friend I suggested, and everyone all together worked really hard in getting everything together. So I'm very grateful for that.
And is it the same with the crew as well? Because the crew's quite kind of international, isn't it? And you've got the music director, Aragappan, sorry, the cinematographer Aragappan, who's largely in Malayalam cinema.
Yeah, so
And
he's done like Malayalam and Tamil as well. He's a fantastic DOP, because I wanted the film to look very, you know, real, and to like I didn't want anything to like, you know, drones and jibs and all that. I wanted it to really reflect kind of in a docu style. You know, he really understood that, and he was just very easy to work with. We've got editor Suresh Pai, who is he's done plenty of Bollywood films,
very
and he
well
was
known name,
yeah, he's a fantastic guy. We've got sound designer Rasul Pukuti, who doesn't again need any introduction.
Oscar-winning sound designer.
Yes, he doesn't need any introduction. And our music director Thomas Cantillon,
I believe.
yeah. So Finnish music director Thomas Cantillon, who's Rasul's contact. But Rasul introduced me to Thomas, who was also very fantastic as well. So yeah, and the crew as well. It was mainly, you know, put together by the production company here, and a lot of people who worked on the film, and you know, our line producer as well, put everyone together. We had a very international crew, in the sense of, I think at one point we looked, and you know, we had some person from South America to across the world. You know, we had everyone together, which was a very nice way of, because you know, at the end of the day, what we're trying to push is Indian talent in a global palette, and if that's the true reflection of crew as well. And we also had a very equal split between men and women crew as well. So you know, these are things that really, you know, I know some certain films are quite behind it, but I feel like if some people can, you know, set an example through the films, then it's great. So I was very happy about all that. So yeah, but it was a tricky shoot because we shot amidst COVID. But
when did you? Was it 2021? You shot the film?
Yeah, so we started in 2020 December, and so we had around a month here in the UK, and then we had to wait a few months because we had a 3-day shoot in Kerala. So because it was COVID and traveling across was so tricky, we finished filming around, I think, March, April 2021, and then post-production was done in India, again with all the travel lockdowns and all. At least a year we lost in waiting around. So now I'm happy to say that the film is almost complete, and hopefully I can share more once I'm allowed to share more. But in about a few months' time, we should hopefully have a premiere. But you know, we're looking forward to the next steps.
Yeah, definitely. So that was going to be my next question. When can we see the film? But you can't tell us.
Yeah, we can't tell you yet, but it's because it's not, you know, we're just working a few bits around, but hopefully we'll have a premiere in London, and we might have one in another part of the country as well, but to kind of, you know, as a premiere to start with, and then we'll see, you know, where the film takes us, because I think, you know, a lot of people have worked on this film, a lot of people who this film wouldn't have been possible about, you know, and it's a story, I think, that is important to be told. So hopefully it has a, you know, life of its own. And I think, like, you know, I'm just so grateful to Adil, Nimisha, Antonio, Lena, all the cast and crew. Adil's just done such a fantastic, powerful performance, as well as all the actors as well. But because of in terms of screen time, Adil's pretty much there beginning till end. Pretty much he's part of every scene. So I'm quite excited for, you know, his fans to really see him in this avatar of an illegal immigrant in Birmingham.
Wow. Now, let's talk about Birmingham, because before we kind of kicked off the interview, I was telling you offline that it is my home city. I'm born and bred in Birmingham. So, but you're showing the dark side of it. Come on. Now, what made you choose, sort of, out of all of the places in the UK? Because there are lots of places, kind of slightly more seriously speaking, there's lots of places that have kind of big Asian populations. London has lots of very sort of Asian areas, which may also have the same sort of thing. What is it about Birmingham that made you want to shoot the film and base the film here?
I'll be very honest with you. So, initially the story was set in Southall because
Okay.
that's where we lived and that's where we had first-hand information. And during COVID time and around the time of planning the production, it came near impossible to shoot in Southall. There's no parking, no nothing. So then Mohit suggested to me, why don't you do in Birmingham? Because there's an illegal immigrant community there as well. And Birmingham, first of all, because Film Birmingham was very supportive towards us and had a chat with a couple of people at Film Birmingham as well. And not many films are shot in Birmingham initially. So so then I said to Mohan, okay, let me go and research a little bit. So we took about a month. We went to Birmingham. We spoke to a lot of people, and we realized that the scene is exactly the same or more in Birmingham as well. And I'm a big, huge kind of a fan of shooting at places that's not very represented quite well. So I feel like Southall or Hayes, Ealing, London, a lot of films are made there. So, being a British filmmaker who, wants to really put across Indian talent in a global platform, I thought, why not do that with the area as well? And Birmingham, of course, it's got I feel like it's got an energy of its own. It's just first, like, the people, and it's equally colorful, especially, you go to near the gurdwaras and, you go to the live areas. Is brilliant. So we thought, okay, it works very well. And for the production, it would work out better as well. So that's why we came to Birmingham, not because, we're hunting down Birmingham and doing that. And because I'll be honest, like in the film, we barely shot in the city center or by the posh areas, because Birmingham had a lot of alleyways and all these different areas, which not only makes the film different. I think it was about, because all these alleyways do tell a story of those hiding within it. So that's the main reason why. But I just ended up falling in love with Birmingham. It's got a lot of, and the people are so lovely. And it's just, we had one of our supporting lead roles are played by Danny Sura. You might know him. He's from Birmingham as well, because we were looking for someone who had a bit of a Brummie accent, and he had that. And he's just done such a fantastic job. He's there throughout the film as well. So I feel like things like that, I wouldn't have probably achieved from a London shoot. So in terms of, like one of the people who watched our sample screener said, this English here and there sounds a bit different, because Indian films have a trend of coming to the UK, but you still speak in Indian English. But, I said that's not a true representation of, where the place is. So thanks to Birmingham, I was able to do that. So yeah, it is the dark side of Birmingham in the sense of it's the less spoken about side, which is equally important. Yeah.
But it's almost, would you say it's another character in the film, the city?
It is. The city paints it basically paints the canvas where all the characters live. But more than that, like for example, a lot of scenes happen in their immigrant house, which is a shared accommodation, which is in Birmingham. And we had to put an entire set of that, because some of the locations we found, people were very scared that, they would be reported, and because we did find an illegal immigrant household, and everything had to be off records, of course, then. So we had to put an entire set through, but to see outside the window that it's still Birmingham, that was quite important. And also, I think through the film that you see in, like there's a lot of migrant population that you can see. And sometimes, obviously the genre of our film is very different. It's kind of more of drama, thriller kind of a genre. You've seen in many films where you see more kind of British background actors, etc. But here there's a lot of people from different parts of the world. There's also a couple of Polish characters who are of importance as well. So it's very exciting to kind of just show the community and the people come together.
So so it was your sister who wrote the film?
Yeah. So Nita Sam is her name. So she's been working on the script for about, I think, almost 5, 6 years.
Right.
And so she wrote the script and we were always bouncing off of, having discussions together. And she applied for the Sinistan script competition. I'm sure you've heard about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And in jury they had like Amir Khan, Rajkumar Rao, and everyone. So in that competition, Footprints won an award.
Right.
So that was kind of, because she's a very self-taught writer. So that was because we kept working on the script, but when we won the award, and also because Mohan by that time had said yes as well, I think we had a bit more confidence to put the script through. Yes, it was a very nice moment, or I think that's probably one of the arcs that really helped us with confidence to push forward.
And when you changed the location from Southall to Birmingham, did the script change as well to kind of just represent the difference in the cities?
Not much, because the script, for example, in the sense of the dialogues and the scenes and everything were the same. But one thing that I found very interesting in the parallel between Southall and Birmingham, but
Mm.
even if you look at maybe Southall and, say, for example, Bradford, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
the locations like an immigrant household or the office where they work, it's also universal.
Yeah,
And we found that even like for example, the script had a requirement that they're in a kind of like a market square,
yeah.
and it was weird, like equal amount of market squares I could find as I would in Southall too. So, and then so we sat together and we thought, what's really the root of the film? It's about the illegal immigrant population and
Mhm.
an illegal immigrant father looking for his daughter. So wherever they are in that environment, it would work very well.
And how is it working with a sibling? Were there lots of arguments during the
Yeah, I think there were it was good. And of course, it was kind of, there weren't any arguments because naturally, because writing and directing are such different departments. So the people I had to talk to and kind of manage things were different to the people that she had to talk to. But she was there on set. It was really helpful. She was there throughout, just checking through the script. But I think towards the end it got really tiring because everyone was getting sick, and we did have COVID, but luckily it was right after we shot the film. So like while we were just finishing up, and it was very fantastic. So now we're working on another script as well, which we're hoping to shoot around sometime next year. So it's been a very, I feel like I was very grateful because she's researched so much into the script, and she just had such a plethora of information regarding the subject. So that was really helpful.
Mm.
And she's actually based in Coventry, which is quite near
Oh, right.
Birmingham.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's easier for her to do a lot of research. She could just nip down the road and
yeah,
um,
yeah.
so in terms of filmmaking, I mean, it's were you ever kind of tempted to almost kind of like go the Bollywood way and kind of make something, based in UK? But you said a lot of the films are very kind of bright, flashy, and showing the nice parts. Were you ever tempted to say, I want to make something really light-hearted, and I want to start with, rather than tackle what is quite a serious subject? Did you ever, were you ever tempted just to say, okay, I want to make something really light-hearted, and because a lot of the British Asian films that you see tend to be kind of like more kind of comedy based, or
Mhm.
light drama rather than quite heavy. Did that ever cross your mind, or was this
Uh,
always good for you?
Funny enough, no, not for my debut anyway, because I think we had spent so many years working on Footprints, and
Mm,
for me, and I think this is a very British way about it is I feel like it's very important to start with a story that you really feel so strongly about.
sure.
And um, this topic was so personal to me. I felt like it kind of even gave me like a little purpose in life. Okay, I want the story to be told.
Yeah.
So I think that was really helpful, and probably that similar passion I wouldn't have got from like a romantic comedy. But having said that, the next script we're working on is a romantic travel film, and
Okay.
it's gonna be a lot brighter, and it's gonna be a little bit more commercial as well. So, and also like in there's also I'm a big fan of all films. I really love films where there's a lot of nature. And I think love as an emotion is it's universal. It's wonderful. But I feel like for Footprints, despite the background being illegal immigrants and thing, there's a lot of moments that's really heartwarming and universal for a lot of people to connect with, which is the father-daughter emotion, the family emotion, stories of two friends, of two lovers. So there's a lot of emotions that, despite the backdrop, you'd still feel connected to, and you at some point you sort of start rooting for certain characters, and their wins become your win and their losses become your losses. So I feel like in that line it's exciting, but I'm glad I started with something I was personally rooting for, because that's always, and I always say that to filmmakers as well, that if you want to make even a short film, find something that you strongly feel for, because that becomes your thing, and you do anything to make it happen. Yeah.
Right, amazing. So in terms of kind of the style of filmmaking, that sort of thing, who are your influences? I mean, as from cinema, who really, who do you look up to, and who influenced you?
So one of my biggest kind of, in terms of inspiration, I feel like there's a lot of people, and I think would run out of time if I were to list them all. But one director that I absolutely love is Ashghar Farhadi. His film A Separation is something that really blew my mind. Although it's not got like direct inspirations from it, I just really love the way he shows true stories, and stories, and puts things about. And in terms of a director who I really kind of look up to is Mira Nair, because I feel like she's done something which is incredible in, bringing the Indian palette to the rest of the world. And I'm a strong believer that I understand, there's Indian films, there are, Telugu films, Bollywood films, Malayalam films, but I feel like there's a real lack of representation when it comes to Indian talent in the British scene. And of course, there are a lot of, British films that have Indian characters, but most of the time, actually 95% of the time, I feel it's very stereotypical, the accent and everything. And I think India is a lot more than that. You go to Mumbai, people don't speak with a proper Indian accent. They have different accents. That's inspired by different parts of India. Like, for example, Assamese English is a lot softer than English in Kerala, for example. So that's something that I feel like, there's a lot of Indian talent, and Britain's got a lot of stories. So I feel like I really wanted to bring about Indian talent in a kind of like, through a British film, into like an international space. So then one day it becomes, just world cinema, because that's how it should be, isn't it? So that was there are real challenges with that, I'll be honest, but hopefully this becomes the norm and more people do it.
No, I agree with you, because one of the things that's always been a bugbear for me growing up in England and sort of living here is you in media, in TV and film, you don't, in my opinion, you don't see a representation of the Asian community here. Because you will go out and you will see an Asian, at least one or two Asian people in almost every office. But in the media, it's always they're doctors, or all that sort of thing. Or so no, I'm glad that you're doing that and like showing a different side to it.
Yeah.
So we've been going for quite a while now, so I don't want to take too much more of your time. What I want to ask, and you kind of started hinting at this when you're talking about the next project that you're working on, but what's next for Nathalia?
So we're working on the script. It's a romantic travel film. Again, in this film, we've got some. Again, I can't say too much, but once I can, I'll be sure to ping you, and then we could have another chat. But we've again got another very important Indian talent who is in the story. So it's basically about a travel story, kind of starting in London and going across different parts of UK and ending up in India, and about how this character comes in terms of life, and kind of understanding the passion around life, etc. So it is going to be a lot lighter, but at the same time, emotions that you deal with, like the family ties and finding one's purpose, etc. That's quite universal, so I'm quite excited for that. And at the same time, I'm just excited to complete footprints fully and it be premiered, and some people see it. I'd love for people to really watch it and let us know what they think, because I do think whoever's watched it so far has hinted on it's a different side of UK they've not been familiar with. So I'm looking forward to see how that plays out. But as filmmakers, we're always active. Like Neetha's writing the travel movie script. I'm also working on a lot of pre-production-y kind of stuff, because idea is you try keep busy and then it all falls into place, hopefully, is the plan.
Fingers crossed. And with Footprints, I know you said you can't say for sure, but is there like a rough idea of when we might see it? Will it be like autumn this year or something like that? Or
yeah, so hopefully around May, June this year.
okay.
So I think it should be around May, June this year. So that's exciting for us. And so hopefully soon after that, there's been a few festivals in India as well that's reached out to us. So hopefully it all works out well, and it has a life of its own. But I've kind of after working on the film for so many years now, it's been 2 years since we started the filming, etc. So I kind of take it a day at a time, but while still giving it all for the film. But the like Mohan Nader at the production headquarters and everybody in production, as well as Adil, the cast, Neetha, everyone has been just so good in kind of just working together as a team and getting this film done. So that's exciting.
Definitely. Well, we look forward to watching the film, and when the film releases, we want to speak to you again and see how the reception is and how the next film is going.
Okay, hopefully I'm all smiles and not all in tears.
You definitely will be. Definitely will be.
Thank you.
Nathalia Syam, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Bhaskar. It was amazing talking to you, and take care. Thanks for this.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.